My daddy had a life. He had a purpose. I was just so happen to be his child.
Wow.
A lot of people want to be just like their favorite celebrity. Maybe in their favorite superhero. Like for me, I really love Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man was my favorite superhero growing up. But my ultimate superhero and role model that I looked up to was my pops. Now, I mean, my pops till this day probably doesn't even understand how much I wanted to be just like him. I wanted to walk like him. I wanted to talk like him. I used to look at my hands hoping that they would grow to the size of his hands. I mean, I wanted to be just like my dad. As a kid, you look at your parents like they're just larger than life. They have the answers to anything that you ask about life. You believe that they are real life superheroes. Like I remember the first time I raced my dad, you could not tell me this dude didn't have some type of powers. But now that I'm 29 and my dad is 49, a lot has changed over the years, a lot of realizations. And I seen this podcast episode and it really made me think of how much me and my father's relationship has changed over the years.
So now, my father was just a man. He wore the same shoes every single day, bought my mom 3 cars before he bought his own car, bought me and my brother and my sister our cars before he bought anything for himself. That's my superhero. So when my superhero says to me, I was scared. There was times I wanted to leave. Now I'm like, shit, that was me.
Yeah.
So now he looks more human to me than he ever looked because he was being honest. And what that did was give me the confidence to say, wait a minute. So all this time you thought you were fucking up and I turned out like this.
Yes.
I was like, I need to tell my sons early what my fears are. And that's why I was telling you, tell your kids, man, because the minute they see you as human and no longer see you as this esoteric creature that has to be perfect, they'll come to you and talk to you about their fears. And then you can help guide them.
Man, that clip is so profound to me because I feel like watching that clip, it healed a part of me. Because you really want to believe that your parents are superheroes. So when you get older and you start to understand the psychology, or you just start to understand how adulthood works, and now you become peers to your parents, you're adulting and they're adulting, and now you're judging their adulting, and a lot of the way they adult, you don't agree with. So it's like, damn, my superhero doesn't really have a cape for real. That is a lot to stomach as a man, especially because you want to be just like this guy, or you want to continue to see your parents on this pedestal. But that switch of no longer seeing your parent as a superhero or a person of all knowing, a person of no flaws, is a huge adjustment mentally. It's almost like you have to mourn the person that you thought they were.
How's your relationship between you and your dad? Tell me about that. It's sad to say, but I actually hate my father, man. He never cared about me. He never supported anything I did. He abused me. He just wasn't a good father.
Growing up, I thought my mom had all the answers, that she was supposed to know everything, do everything perfectly. But it really hit me one day that this is her first time living life too. Just like me, just like all of us. And in that moment, how I see my mom completely changed. When we're kids, our parents are like our superheroes. They're the ones who know how the world works. They tell us what's right and wrong. They make the rules, and they make all the decisions. So they seem so sure of themselves. And because of that, we start believing that they should know everything, that they should never mess up. If they fail, it's because they weren't trying hard enough. But what we don't realize is that they're people too. You know, people who had a childhood before we were even born. People who had dreams, struggles, and heartbreaks, who didn't magically receive a handbook on how to be the perfect parent the day we arrived. But I didn't really see that, not when I was younger. I just only saw those moments when she didn't understand me. The times when she said the wrong thing, the times when she made mistakes and I judged her for it. I was so focused on what she wasn't that I forgot to see her for what she was, a person just trying to do her best. I remember one night I was so frustrated with her about something small, right? Maybe she didn't understand me, maybe she said the wrong thing, and I told her that she never gets it. She never understands me, and then she said something that I'll never forget. She said, I'm trying. This is my first time being a mom too. And that really hit me like a truck because it was so true, yet I never, not even once, saw it that way. I always saw her as mom, not as a person. I saw a woman who was navigating life just like I was. A person who had no perfect roadmap, no script, no instructions, who was just trying her best. I stopped getting mad when she didn't have all the answers. Instead, I started appreciating the small things, small sacrifices, and little things that she did every single day without expecting a thank you. And I asked myself, do I always know what to say when my friends are struggling? Or do I always handle the situation the best way possible? I don't. Because I'm a human, and so is she. So
that dude put it perfectly, and I know I was saying my dad does not wear a cape. My mom does not wear a cape like I was expecting. But being able to put my parents in the position of being a human and actually understanding that my dad never saw his dad do what he did. And then it even dawned on me even deeper, like my dad moved his whole family from New York to Atlanta at my age. I mean, he had 5 kids. I'm sitting here with 2 kids and a wife, you know? So I'm thinking that, okay, like I'm really doing it. My dad did so much more at my age without a handbook. I at least have my dad to watch, to encourage me to be who I am. But I definitely went through my moment of just being mad at my pops, of just like, why don't you do this better? Or why didn't you do this? Why didn't you say this to me so I could be more confident in that? Like, you know, I had a lot of whys and why didn't you do it better? And I remember he would always tell me, look, I didn't have my dad to show me these things. And I'm not gonna lie, when my dad used to tell me that when I was younger, it was kind of like, yeah, but still, right is right, wrong is wrong. But when you really think about what the man just said, it makes perfect sense. For my 10-month-old son, a lot of the things that I'm doing for him, I feel like I learned it from mistakes from my 10-year-old daughter. And when I put myself in my dad's shoes, he's just a man that's trying to get it right himself. But now there's another side to things. And I think this is where it goes even deeper. And I go say this for both of my parents. And a lot of us can understand this about our parents. So yes, our parents are trying. They're trying to do their best. They're trying to do their best. And we're realizing that, okay, our parents don't have it all figured out. But here's the other part. The other part is when your parents say words that sometimes can cut like a knife. Sometimes it can have you second guessing your next move. Hell, sometimes it could just keep you from wanting to call them in general. But what I had to realize is that my dad is, not only is he trying to figure out how to be a parent, my dad was also learning how to be a man. He's still learning how to be a man. I'm still learning how to be a man. We're still trying to figure out what exactly is it to be a man's man for real. So when I give my dad the grace and I really see him outside of being my father, I feel like it really healed our relationship, because I realized, yo, my dad still has trauma from his upbringing. I'm asking somebody to treat me perfectly that has not fully been healed from what they experienced as a child. I'm asking him to have a conversation with himself because nobody sat him down when he was a kid. For a long time, I really wanted to impress my dad, and this was the biggest shift in our relationship. I really wanted to impress my dad to the point where I would show him something that I have going on, and I'll just put it like this. His response was my dad's response. Yeah, I mean, my dad is not the type of dude to jump off the walls and go crazy. Even though I'm constantly striving for that response in the actions that I do throughout life. But what I realize is that my pops did not get that. So one, he doesn't even know what that looks like fully. Secondly, when I put myself in his shoes and all of the stories he told me when he was younger, he didn't receive the proper praise that he deserves throughout his life from the people that he wanted it from. So oddly enough, it kind of switched to the point where I don't look so much for my dad's praise. I enjoy constantly reminding him how good he's doing, because I could tell it's healing a part of him. And seeing that part of him be healed is all I want to ask for from our relationship. Because I know on one hand, it's like, man, but he's your dad. Why can't he give you that energy that you want? You can only ask somebody for something so much to the point you got to realize that person may not be capable of giving you what you're asking for. So now you got to ask yourself, is this relationship worth it? And I'll be the one to say it. My relation with my mom and my relation with my dad is always going to be worth it. So even though it's not the exact dynamic I originally wanted, part of growing up as a man is being able to take reality for what it is. There's certain things you just can't change. As long as it's not hurting me and I can still have a relationship with my parents, I can still set boundaries with my parents, I'm gonna find a way to navigate. Because one day, and I know there's somebody that's sitting here watching this video is like, nah bro, my dad just really crossed the line. One day, that guy, that mom, will not be here. And if the timeline of life goes by age, my parents will leave before I do. And I'm gonna be stuck with a, damn, was that misunderstanding really worth it? Because there's no redos once it's over. And my parents is only getting older. Although I ripped the cape off of their back in my head, I'm able to see them as people, and it makes me way more empathetic for them, to the point where it helped our relationship. Instead of me constantly, why aren't you like this? Why can't you do better? Why'd you talk to me like that when I was a kid? Instead of me, why? Why? Instead, I'm coming from a place of, I really want to understand what created that anger that you had. Where did you see that? Or like my mom, what made you so scared of life to the point where you can easily see the negative in so many things? You know, what was it for you as an individual? And now, me and my parents, we get on the phone and we literally talk like we're brother and sister. Both of my parents. Now, I know that's not for everybody. Everybody can't do that. That's just a blessing that I was given. But what I will say is this: give your parents the grace. A lot of our parents are just human beings trying to figure it out too. We just so happen to be in the middle of it.
My daddy had a life. He had a purpose. I was just so happen to be his child.
Wow.
That's deep too, though, because a lot of people don't realize that. As a father, I do have a whole.
You
other
got a
thing that
whole.
Yeah.
Oh,
I feel
yeah. Hold on.
I was just so happy to be his child.
You know how?
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. That's
deep.
That's good.
One of the hardest things you'll ever have to do is try to give your parents any type of excuse, because you feel like your parents just should have got it right. Rightfully so, you can feel like that is your situation. So all I'm gonna do is speak from my situation. It healed a part of me to look at my father like a man instead of my father. Instead of as a superhero, I respect him to the fullest as my father. But as far as his characteristics or his emotions or the things that I don't understand about him, I have to remove that perfection from his name and see him as a flawed man, just like myself. Understand that I'm not gonna agree with everything that he does, but my kids being able to have pictures with their granddad is worth it to me. It's worth finding an understanding through our misunderstandings, because again, their granddad will not be here one day. Their grandmom won't be here one day. And a lot of times what we do is we go ahead and tarnish these relationships, and then our kids have to also be affected by the misunderstandings that we have with our parents, and they may not ever understand why. So now they're looking at you as if you did something wrong. So I'm not telling nobody to put whatever traumas that they experience behind them. That is not the place that I'm sitting in. Y'all know me, I'm all about a perspective shift. Ask yourself, how are you perceiving your parents? The way I perceive my parents now has really healed a part of me, selfishly. But I'm able to be there for my parents while I still have them. And it doesn't feel like it's hurting me, because I'm not getting what I originally was expecting from them as an adult child. So anyways, y'all, hit that like button, subscribe button, turn on my post notifications. Let me know, how is your relationship with your pops? How's your relationship with your mom? What was one of the biggest things that you had to realize growing up from a child to an adult that made you look at your parents differently? Comment below right now. I really want to hear this discussion. Hey man, hit that like button, subscribe button, turn on my post notifications and all that good stuff, man. Until next time, y'all, it's been your boy Top Boogie. I'm out of here. Peace.